I could tell you a story.
Why not? Yeah, okay, let's go.
My
Let's
my
start again.
buddies, yeah, my buddy Saul, he goes by Saulito on Twitter,
Mm-hmm.
was in like 2018. He was like, man, Bitcoin's at 3,000. I really think this is an opportunity to get in. And I was like, 3,000 is a lot for a Bitcoin, dude. That's a
Mm.
lot of money. I barely even had enough to buy one. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? It
yeah,
was
yeah,
tight.
yeah, yeah.
Money was tight.
Of course.
And he was like, this is an opportunity, man. And he literally said these words. By the way, this guy Saulito, he's not a tinfoil hat guy. He's a
Mm.
very, very cultured individual,
Okay.
extremely cultured.
Yeah.
Um, this dude walked from, I think he walked from Ecuador
Mm-hmm.
to where he lived
Mm-hmm.
in North Carolina, because he has Latin origins. He's half Mexican, half Salvadorian.
Mm.
So he walked from Ecuador all the way to North Carolina to understand what that immigration is like, because there are people who are walking all the way
Wow.
from Ecuador to the United States just to escape or to find a different and new life, basically, you
Mm.
know? So he did that walk
Wow.
alone.
How many
So just
miles
giving
is
you an
that?
idea of what kind of like mentality, this is a super international, a super smart dude.
Mm.
He's a renowned speaker across the world. So he
Wow.
said, hey man, I'm gonna be
That's
honest
good.
with you. He said, I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't want to be living in like my brownstone apartment in New
Mm.
York City that I own,
Mm.
and you be like still trying to buy a home. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
would feel guilty.
Yeah.
He was joking, but he was kind of serious. And I didn't listen. I said, you know what? $3,000 is a lot for Bitcoin. It's going
Mm.
down. It just keeps going down.
That's true. Yeah, I was also like during this time, I thought, okay, Bitcoin is gonna go down to 1,600, 1,700, you know,
Yeah.
and I didn't realize it's the bottom because yeah, you always feel like it's gonna go down further because you've seen the rise to 20K and then it's just went down, you know. It's even though
Yeah.
it's only a year until it bottomed from 20K,
Yeah.
it felt so much longer, you know. It's crazy
Yeah.
because you're in there invested with your money and it's like emotionally draining and it's
Right.
annoying. Like the time,
Right.
like I didn't look at crypto then anymore because I felt like, okay, oh no, fuck this, I have enough. And at $3,000 I sold stuff, and then I was like, okay,
Ugh.
I don't care. And yeah, this was pretty, and this was the bottom. So yeah, it's pretty. But another question: do you think we are in a bear market?
I'll answer that question, but I gotta finish my story because
Okay, of
I'm a
course. Sorry,
storyteller at
sorry.
heart. No, it's
I love
okay.
that.
So in January of 2021, same dude, Saulito, comes to me and he's like, yo, man, there's this thing called NFTs. Like, it's the next big thing. It's the next
Mhm.
wave. And that was January. This was before Beeple even sold his thing for $69 million.
True.
And I looked into it and I started to do research. I barely understood it. For the first 2 weeks, I really did not understand
Mm,
how NFTs worked, but I did understand that they were digital collectibles and it's happening somehow on the blockchain.
yeah.
And I got really into it. For a week, I was just reading up on NFTs every single day.
Mm-hmm.
And he told me in 2018, like, check out Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't listen. So when he came back to me and he was like, man, you're an artist. He's an artist too. He's like, man, we're
Mm-hmm.
artists. Like NFTs are the new thing. I
Cool.
was just like, I'm not going to miss out on this opportunity.
Love
You know
it.
what I mean? I
Mm-hmm.
already made a mistake once. I'm not going to make it again.
Okay.
And so that's kind of how my NFT adventure started.
Nice, 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 nice. Yeah, I like a friend of mine and I. We went to have lunch here in Berlin, and he said, "You know what? NFTs, Gary V's in there. It's crazy." I was like, "Ah, nah, I don't know. It's like I didn't look into it, you know." And then it
Yeah.
was, I think it was November or December of 2020. So before I think Bored Ape and Cool Cats launched, right? I think they launched in
Yeah.
2021. So yeah.
Yes, they both launched in 2021.
So
I witnessed them both launch. Like I've been in this space since before them, which is crazy to think about.
crazy,
But
yeah.
yeah, and I
Yeah,
didn't
so
buy either. because
You
I'm an
didn't buy
idiot.
either. Did you at least see them launch and stuff? And
I did, but I remember when Bored Apes were like point 0.3. I
of
didn't buy
course,
any.
we all have this kind of moments, right? I mean, happens.
I mean, you know what? I sometimes I have these moments where I feel like I can see into the future, and I'm like, this is going to be a big deal, and it becomes and
Mm.
ends up being a big deal, and I'm like, haha. But then there are other moments where I'm just absolutely wrong. And
Wow.
my thing about Bored Apes was like, I just didn't like it. I
Ah,
just did
okay.
not enjoy the art at all.
True.
And so I was like, not investor oriented at
Yeah,
all. I was
yeah.
not investor oriented. I was
Mm.
only like, I want to buy things that I like. And
But
for the
it's
most
also
part, that's been
how
a
it
good
works.
guide for me. But
Yeah. Yeah, that's how a lot of people actually approach NFTs, and I think it's good because I also in the beginning bought stuff that I don't know, I was maybe too hyped about and didn't really say, okay. Sometimes it's also different when it's like from art blogs or something, and there's like real artists behind it, and you are so hyped because you see the other prices, and you expect them to happen
yeah,
or do the same. But yeah, I think we all have our experiences, right?
we do. The thing about art blocks that's really interesting is art blocks projects. I think they do best when it's a big slow burn. Like I think all
Hmm.
art blocks projects are essentially a big slow burn. If
What
you're in the
means big
flip,
slow
if you're a
burn, you think?
flipper,
Ah, okay,
most
it
of the
takes
time,
time to pop up, yeah? Or
yeah, it kind of burns, but it burns very slowly over time and very
mm,
organically. Like each
okay,
project has its own cycle and life of its own,
that's true.
which is why I'm personally like pretty bullish on art blocks. Despite not owning any, I'm I'm trying to find some liquidity in order to buy some.
Hmm. I mean, there are some super expensive ones out there anyway. So those are, yeah,
Yeah,
you need lots of liquidity for those. But there are also some
you do.
cheaper ones, different categories, Artbox curated, and so on.
Right.
Yeah.
There is an
So
entry point in art blocks for almost anybody that is
that's true.
serious about collecting.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But tell me about your background in art and how you started with your own collections, the Habibis, right? Or
Yeah. Yeah, so I started making Habibis in January of 2021.
okay,
I've been kind of creating art in some form or another for like most of my life, you know.
cool.
I went to art school. I went to Massachusetts College of Art and Design, pretty
Hmm.
reputable art institution in the United States. It's okay. It's
Cool.
very inexpensive if you live in Massachusetts because it's a
Okay,
subsidized school, subsidized by the government. So
that's
it's
cool.
very affordable. Yeah. That's why I went. That's
Hmm.
most of the reason why I went is because I could afford it kind of.
Hmm.
Still paying off those loans, but I could afford to pay it off at least.
Yeah, cool.
So I went to art school, but I studied film because I was super passionate about filmmaking. I
Mm.
love film. I love video and completed the program there at Mass College of Art and became a filmmaker and basically did film in one form or another for the next 8 or so years.
Wow.
Yeah. Working in different companies, making as a film on staff. And then
Hmm.
for the last 3 or 4 years, I was just an independent filmmaker as
That's
working
nice.
freelance on different film sets and stuff like that. Yeah.
That's where when you make the money, right? The big monies.
It was not, no, not for me.
And
Being a freelance filmmaker is very difficult unless you're in the top 1% of
okay,
the actual filmmakers. You're not going to
true.
be making that much money.
Ah, yeah, that's true because from what I think is like I think a lot of people try, right, because they think it's easy. They can, I don't know, be a freelance photographer, filmmaker with just a camera. But I think the competition is very high. Is that correct?
It is a pretty competitive field, in my opinion. I don't like how competitive it is
Mm-hmm.
personally. Like everybody is just trying to make it out on their own. And um, in the United States, it's a field that's dominated by certain groups of people. And I didn't enjoy it. I personally encountered a lot of like really racist and sexist things on set, and there's
Oh,
nothing you can do
okay.
because nobody's protected, right? So
Yeah,
like, I mean, okay, so you live in Berlin and Germany, and as well in the United States, we have, sorry, I'm adjusting my camera, my bad,
that's okay, no
because
worries.
it's
All good.
bothering me as a
Yeah.
cinematographer. Um, if something happens in your workplace that is inappropriate, you can go to HR
Mm-hmm.
or human resources and complain. Hopefully
That's
you have a
true.
good HR team and they'll do something about it. But when you're working freelance on these film sets, if you say, hey, this dude's
Mm.
being weird, he's acting strange, he's saying weird things, what happens is that um,
You lose the job, maybe, right?
they don't ask you to come back the next day.
Crazy.
That's it. What are you gonna
Yeah.
do? You have absolutely no recourse. You have no recourse. What are you gonna hire a
Yeah.
lawyer? Come on, that's not gonna
Mm.
happen. So they just ask you to not to come back.
Wow.
Um, and don't forget, if you do that, those people that hired you will tell everyone else
Oh
in
my
your
God.
network not to hire as you as well.
Mm.
So just for being like, hey, this just for doing the right thing,
Mm.
you can lose all of your credibility
Shit.
in 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 your town where you live, and
Yeah,
that's your livelihood.
of course.
So as a filmmaker, I have a lot of beef personally with a
Mm.
lot of people where I used to work.
Okay.
They may not know it, but I have beef with them because um, I just encountered so much bullshit, and I had
Mm-hmm.
to put up with it because I had to feed myself. I
Of
had
course,
to
of course, of course, of
provide
course.
for my family. You know what I mean?
Of course, makes sense.
I never said anything. Never did.
Crazy. Ooh,
I never did just because, man, I got to put food on the table.
that's true, yeah. How about your project, Mark the Habibi? You said you started. Um, did you already do this kind of art before, or how did you? Um, because it's 3D, right? It's
Yeah.
also kind of detailed and like tell me a little bit more about this because it's also kind of unique. I feel most NFTs are kind of like 2D. They have a certain narrative they fit, like being cute, colorful, and stuff. And your art is kind of popping out, in a nice way. And I also saw some like fingerprints or what, yeah, like super good details, and I was like, is this real clay? I asked
There are
myself.
some people that think that some of them are real. They're not. They're
Yeah,
all digital.
yeah.
Um, and I use Blender to create these. And I started
Mm-hmm.
to get into Blender during the pandemic because I had a lot of free time on my hands, and I had somebody who was willing to teach me how to do
Mm-hmm.
Blender, like one of my
Cool.
friends, big expert when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to Blender. So we just spent a lot of time getting to know each other during the pandemic on video calls, on Discord calls, and he was just
Cool.
teaching me how to use Blender. And I started to make this character, and I called the character Habibi. I put a little tarbouche on it because he's a Habibi.
Yeah, that's
Um,
cool.
and just started to have fun with it. And it just kind of ended up being this little weird clay character with a spherical head. I played around with so many different basic characters that are
Nice.
all locked away on my computer that few people have seen because it's like sacrilegious. You know what I mean?
Maybe we should show them
To see them.
to the viewers, no?
We can. I'll send it to you.
Yeah. If
Oh, you
you
want me to show it right now?
right now.
Oh man, that would require me to find them on my computer. They are
Okay.
definitely locked away somewhere. But
Until the
I can try.
okay, would be kind of
Let me
cool.
see what I Yeah, we got some weird things here, man. We got some weird stuff.
That's cool. That's cool. We love that.
Trying to be really smart about
Okay.
making sure I don't have anything like sensitive on my screen. I don't. No.
Not
Just a
your
lot of ridiculous files.
secret seed phrase. We can
Good thing I
access.
don't store my seed phrase on any digital devices because I'm smart.
Yeah, that's good.
Um, you might have to crop some things out, but we'll
Yeah,
do.
no worries.
Okay, so this is like the 1.0 version. These are old folders, but this is not the first iteration of the
Mm-hmm.
Habibi that existed, but this is one of the first. Okay, I
Cool.
mean, it's pretty basic,
It's
right?
very different though, right?
It's
But it
weird.
yeah, but also cool, no?
Yeah.
It looks
Yeah.
like a wooden nose.
Yeah, and then this is like a more, this is another version that is a
Mm.
lot more statuesque,
Mm-hmm.
we'll say, and I played around with it, you know what I mean, and
Cool.
different
Yeah.
lighting and
Yeah.
different styles. I wanted it to be like very simple, you know what I
Okay.
mean? I
Yeah.
wanted it to have like the most simple kind of a very simple expression of a character, you know what I mean?
Wow. Yeah.
I
Really
didn't want to
cool.
get complicated with it.
This looks so real, kind of.
Yeah,
Oh
they're
yeah. This
fun.
those ones I like as well. Yeah. 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 Interesting. Cool.
Yeah. And then I think this is where you
Ah.
start to see a little bit of that spherical head coming into play.
True. 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 True.
Uh, I wonder if I have anything else here. There is another, I know there's another folder somewhere.
Okay.
This is like another weird version. Oh God, it's a video. Okay.
Okay.
This is me playing around with a lot of different weird.
Nice.
Um, yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Nice. Thanks for showing.
Playing around with different head shapes.
Oh.
Oh God,
Cool.
don't
Cool.
look at
Cool.
this. This is horrible.
It's
Um,
cool. It's cool. It's
yeah.
interesting to see. I mean, you started from somewhere and find the final design. It's kind of how it goes, I guess, right? Or
Yeah, I know the Habibi does look like a very simple expression of kind of a character, but it did take a long time to arrive at it.
yeah.
There were dozens and dozens of iterations. Um, a lot of it was in Blender, but a lot of it was just sketching on paper, being like, okay, like, what if you take different shapes of a head, different, I mean, because you essentially have
Mm-hmm.
thousands of different, millions of different combinations where you're like, what's the
True.
shape of the head? What's the shape of the eyes? What is the main expression of like, what is, how do Habibis typically express themselves?
Yeah.
Um, and that seems really basic today because it's a spherical-ish
Mm-hmm.
head, long eyes, and a tarbouche. And this is
That's
kind
true.
of like our main expression of Habibis.
Love
It
it.
seems simple, but it takes a long time to arrive at that actually.
I believe so. Yeah. And how did you come up with the name? What's because Habibi is a cool word, and was there like a backstory to it?
Not really. I
Okay.
mean, so I'm Middle Eastern by descent. My
Okay.
parents both immigrated to the United States
Cool. Cool.
in
Cool.
the 70s and 80s,
Mm-hmm.
from Cairo, well, not from Cairo. My mom's from Cairo,
Mm-hmm.
but they both came from Egypt,
Cool.
and that's where their genealogy is been from for quite a long time,
Yeah,
according
yeah,
to
of course.
23 and according to like the 23andMe DNA tests. Um, but Habibi is a word in Arabic that basically means like my love or my
True.
dearest. And
Yeah.
it's just a word that, yeah, you know, and it's just a word that I grew up with. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so when I was thinking about naming a character, I just said, oh, I just came to me, just, oh, it should be Habibi. And it really didn't take me long to come up with that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, especially because if I'm being honest, like back a few years ago, I wanted to create a film studio and I
Okay.
wanted the film studio to be called Habibi Studios.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
nice.
so when I was thinking about making a character project, I just thought, oh, it should, this is an even more perfect application of this brand that I want to create. Habibi Studios is like, if as a film group is like, cool, that's cool, but like actually making Habibis and having that be a part of the brand is like a million times cooler. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
super nice. Love it. Love the
Yeah.
idea and the story behind it. Um, yeah, so can you also tell us a little bit more about how big the collection is, how it started, how did you mint? Is there like a story behind it, or how did this one go?
Yeah, so Habibis initially started as like bespoke one pieces that I
Mm-hmm.
would create on, and I made a contract for that on Rarible, just called Habibis.
Okay, cool.
And I just started making them and then releasing them one by one, typically auction. And then I started to make other versions that were ERC 1155, which basically means that they're editions. So maybe I
Ah,
make
nice.
one, but there's 10 editions.
Mm-hmm.
And then I experimented with Tezos as well,
Mm-hmm.
making Tezos Habibis. And then I kind of arrived at kind of like one of the final expressions,
Mm-hmm.
or kind of the premier expression that we have of Habibi today, which is
Mm-hmm.
just called Generation Habibi.
Mm-hmm.
And Generation Habibi is it's a 1K project, which means that there's only 1,000 of them. And each one is kind of made in a generative way based on a lot of rules and a lot of traits that I've created. And then we
Nice.
feed them into a generator, and then the generator kind of assembles each Habibi
True.
for each individual. And so
Okay.
you can know that your Habibi um,
Kind
is
of.
unique,
Yeah.
is not, there's no copies of it.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, interesting. I also talked to Shaka Blood from Hoppers NFT,
Yeah.
and he sent the files to a what did he call it? I think like a farm, rendering farm or something, where they
Yeah.
process them. Was it also the same with you, or do you have like a super strong rendering farm at home?
No, I do have a really strong PC, and we
Yeah,
probably could have done it all on the PC. It
yeah.
just would have taken like a week, which is just
Wow,
a little long. So
that's
we
true.
we we sent it to a render farm.
Okay.
I worked with a Blender kind of technician slash expert slash Python coder,
Mm-hmm.
who just really, and that allowed me to focus on the art. So I
Okay.
worked with this dude named Ahmed in Cairo,
Mm,
who is just the best. So I just got to focus on the art, and I would just organize it the way he instructed me to. And then
interesting.
Ahmed would then take the Blender file and write Python code,
Mm-hmm.
inject that Python code into Blender, and then he would also send it over to a render farm
Wow.
to render
The
out all of the versions
Yeah,
for
yeah, yeah.
me. And he even made it so that the metadata is preserved and also exported along as a JSON file with
Mm,
each Habibi.
that's pretty cool. And
Yeah.
was it like a lot of data to send him, or is it like a big file per Habibi, or
So the cool thing is that the way that we did it in Blender is it's just one Blender file that's
okay,
about a gigabyte.
okay, cool.
So it's not that big, and it's a
Yeah.
gigabyte, and I send it to him, and basically when you open up the Blender file, it's kind of like if you open up a Photoshop
Mm-hmm,
file
mm-hmm,
and
mm-hmm.
you have all the layers. Every layer
Of
is
course.
on.
Yeah.
So the Habibi has like 50 hats, and they're
Mm-hmm.
all just on top of each other. You know
Okay.
what I mean?
Yeah, interesting.
Um,
Cool.
so yeah.
Nice, nice, nice. And then, of course, I understand with the code, they randomized kind of the different layers, right, per trade and stuff.
It's random to an extent, but I worked with Ahmed to create rarity tables,
Mm,
so
yeah.
I can express using these tables that we create,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
how rare each thing should be. So maybe
That's true.
diamond tarbouche,
Yeah,
super rare. I
yeah.
write that in at zero. That's like a 0.5% chance to get.
Okay,
And then the standard red tarbouche is like, I think it's like 45%. It's
okay,
a
okay,
very
okay.
common attribute in
Common,
the
yeah,
Habibi
yeah, yeah,
photos.
makes sense. Yeah, yeah. And also regarding your team, is it like you're kind of solo on this project, or do you also have? Of course, you also had this help from your friend in Cairo, I guess it was, with the render farm. But do you also have other people working on the project, or is it more so your own baby?
The way that we've structured Habibi is it's kind of my own baby.
Okay.
Um, every, technically, nobody is on full-time staff,
Okay.
except me.
Yeah.
Everyone is freelanced. The only person that you might want to consider to be like also on staff is
Mm-hmm.
going to be my community manager. His name is Kenny,
Cool.
aka TTDKWTA.
Okay. Nice.
That's how he likes to go by. It stands for something. It stands for those that don't know who they are, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so um, yeah, he's a community manager.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
He's a critical person, but we also have a bunch of quote
Mods.
unquote like volunteer
Yeah.
staff
Okay.
kind
Okay.
of, who are the mods and the community leaders. Um, they basically volunteer their time to help build the community. And you might be
Also,
asking
it's
like,
yeah
yeah, sorry.
important for the Discord, right?
Yeah, the thing that we do best at Habibis is building community. Um,
Mm.
it's I have I don't like to brag about my own art
Let's brag about your
because
art.
I don't want to. I genuinely don't want to because
Okay.
I'm pretty self-conscious about my art, to be
Okay.
honest. I'm always pushing and I'm never satisfied. Whenever I look at my own work, I never think to myself, wow, I really killed it. It's
Mm.
not a thought that ever occurs to me.
Okay, okay, okay.
Even right now, I'm working on an entire rebrand of all of the Habibis.
Mm.
The IPFS data is going to change. Like
Oh,
we're going to be one of the first NFT um,
what?
collections
Yeah.
to ever change the art. So people will wake up overnight and their Habibi will have changed.
Wow.
Not drastically. You're not going to get a different Habibi.
Okay,
I'm just pushing out a bunch of updates
okay.
to refine everything. So
Mm.
there's no errors. You don't
Okay.
have ears sticking out of hats like you have with some other
With
collections.
Hey Beast, I guess you're talking.
I didn't say that. You said that.
Yeah,
Um,
okay.
but what we are going to do is everything is going to get refined. Contrast and visibility will be improved. I just because I look at these things and everyone keeps telling me they look fine, man. They're great. But
Hmm.
I I look at it and I think to myself, it can be better. And so
Okay,
I keep doing that.
that's
What I
interesting.
will brag about though, yeah, what I will brag about is our community.
You said
I have no
you don't
problem
want to brag,
bragging
no?
about that. I said I don't want to brag about my art,
Ah, okay.
but I will happily brag about our community because I genuinely think we have one of the best, if not the best community in the
Okay.
entire NFT space.
Why is
Um,
that?
there's many reasons for
Okay.
that.
Okay.
It's like have you ever had like jerk chicken?
Mm-hmm. Who's
There's like
jerk chicken?
89. The jerk chicken, it's like a
Ah,
specific type of chicken made
ah,
with a sauce. I think
okay.
it's like Caribbean or Jamaican in
Mm,
origin, but
interesting.
jerk chicken is really well known because to make a really good jerk chicken sauce,
Mm-hmm.
it requires like 90 ingredients.
Wow.
It is a
Okay.
very complicated sauce, and it's like the same with our community, to, which is why many NFT projects don't have as compelling of a community as ours because it's not easy. It's not
Mm-hmm.
easy.
That's
It's
true.
not enough to be like, we made awesome art. We opened up a Discord. Boom. That's not how you make a good community.
That's super true. Community building is
Not.
so difficult. But what's your secret ingredient? And don't tell me it's jerk chicken.
It's jerk chicken.
Okay. Okay, I
No,
need to
it's
find
like,
out those 90 different ingredients, so maybe I can build a community as well then.
yeah, the secret ingredient is like authenticity,
Yeah,
integrity. You need to be real with people. Takes time to build a good
takes time for
community.
sure.
Technically, this Discord that we're building has been around since March 2021,
Mm-hmm.
and we've just been slowly growing. We have people that have been active since then, so we're basically coming up on a year. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Of just every day we're here, every day we're
Mm-hmm,
grinding, like
mm-hmm,
every
mm-hmm.
and those friendships that you make with other people, they really come to life. And before you know it, you have a group of 15, 20, even 10
That's true.
people that are all tight with each other. We all like each other. You know what I mean? We consider each other to be friends.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And that's where things get special because you can really build a community. You can build a big community around a group of 10 people who are
Mm-hmm,
very connected.
mm-hmm,
Because when you see 10 people who are connected, who are kind of living life together,
mm-hmm.
other people want to be a part of that because newsflash, it's actually kind of hard to make friends.
That's true.
It's hard to have real good relationships with people.
Mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm.
people want to be a part of that. And then as you continue to build, as long as you kind of create a beautiful space that people want to be a part of,
Mm-hmm.
then people will kind of
See
come to
that.
that basically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they want to be
And
part, right?
then, right.
Belong
And
to
then once
this
we made
nice
a,
group.
yeah, everybody wants to have a sense of belonging. And
Yeah.
then once we created the 1K project, we kind of opened the floodgates for like basically 1,000 new people to come on
Mm-hmm,
board.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
The key to that for me was actually myself and more importantly, um, our community manager, Kenny, because
Mm-hmm.
Kenny is like at his very deep in his deepest heart is a people person. Like
Cool.
he genuinely loves to talk to people, relate to people,
Mm-hmm.
and he'll if you jump in the Discord, he'll like have a conversation with you for an hour and he'll talk with you about anything.
Wow.
And it's his joy to do so, like it's his passion.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And so Kenny is just really great at just being like the most welcoming person ever. And every week probably a few times a week, people are messaging Kenny like, "Hey, do you want to be our community manager?"
Of course, of
He's
course.
free. He's free to
Yeah,
do whatever he wants.
yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I think he's gonna stay with us because
Mhm.
like I just think he is.
Of course. Why
But
should he
he's
leave, right? And go to a different place and start all over again?
yeah. I don't think he should. I mean, but
I need a
I'm
good
selfish
community
because I want
manager.
him
What
for.
was his name again? Kenny.
His name's
Okay.
Kenny. You can hit him up, man. I mean, I don't know that he's gonna leave Habibis,
Of
but you
course,
can
of course.
try. I mean, I'm not here to tell him what to do.
Yeah, of course, just kidding. But yeah, Kenny.
And then we had a bunch of community managers. We had a bunch of mods. We basically
Mm,
opened up the doors and said, if you want to contribute to this project, even if you wanted to be a mod or a community leader or anything,
mhm.
like just come, just show up to this meeting, basically.
Okay.
And basically everybody that showed up to that meeting, we just took a leap of faith on them and said, hey, here's the keys to the community. Have fun.
Cool.
And honestly, like I thought that one or two of them would fall off the bandwagon,
Mm,
turn out to be duds.
mm.
Um, Nobody did. That was the most
Ah,
surprise. That was actually pretty surprising. Like not a single person that signed up for the opportunity ended up being a dud.
they um ended up being a
A
dad.
dud is a
A
dud
dad.
is
Ah,
like
like okay, someone who left then, yeah.
a dud is like
Nice word
I
for
think
a bad word.
no, it's not a bad word. A dud means I don't know how to explain it. It's something that should have worked, but it didn't.
Ah, okay, 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 got
Like
it.
it yeah, in English, like if you're fired an artillery shell and it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't explode
Ah,
when it reaches the ground, they call that a dud. Or like
okay,
if
got
you're
it,
going to
got it.
fire a gun and it doesn't fire, like there's a problem
Ah,
with the
yeah, okay,
cartridge,
got
that's
it.
called like a dud.
Ah, okay, 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 okay. Yeah, I have the German word in my head. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
What's the German word?
Blindgänger. It's called. It's
That's cool.
yeah,
How do you say it again?
Blindgänger, I guess. Bl-
Blindgänger.
Blindgänger. Or was it Blindgänger?
Blindgänger. That's cool, man.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's
Blindgänger.
actually this. It's an unexploded ordnance.
Yeah.
It says, yeah, yeah, yeah. So, or is it Blindgänger? Yeah, I think it's a topic for another podcast that we can discuss.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, so
absolutely.
cool. And how many actually showed up voluntarily, or
Like 15.
and then you have like 15 people still doing this work, or what means work?
Yeah.
I mean like building community, having fun, discussing and stuff.
We have a few hundred people in the Discord that are
Mhm.
active every day, but we have about 15 people who are kind of, we'll call them volunteer staff,
Mhm,
who
mhm.
are community leaders and moderators
That's
in
nice.
the community. And it's just passion, man.
Wow.
Everybody's here because it's a passion project for them.
That's cool. That's pretty cool. And actually, how I find you guys out, I think, is through the Dead Fellas community. You know.
A lot of people found us through Dead Fellows. That's heartwarming, man.
Yeah, I don't know how, but what it was, but I think some mods and stuff they tweeted something out. I'm in their Discord as well, and yeah. But I read, yeah. You go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was gonna say like we share a lot of ties with the Dead Fellows community.
Mhm.
I'd consider myself to be friends. I think they would agree. Friends with Betty and Sai. We chat.
Yeah.
They've always supported Habibis from the beginning, which is just honor. I'm super honored by that. And we've always supported Dead Fellas as well.
That's
So
cool.
we're not officially associated with them, but I would say unofficially, I hope they would agree.
Mhm.
Unofficially, we're kind of like, I wouldn't say brother or sister. That might be a strong word.
Mhm.
We'll say cousins.
Okay, cousins is a good word for it, and
I hope they would agree. Betty and Sai, if you're listening, I'm sorry if you disagree. I see all as family is what I'm trying to say.
Of
I see
course,
all
of
as family.
course, of course. Why not? Yeah, and I also read.
I'm not trying to ride clout. I'm not trying to ride clout. I promise.
We can tweet this one out and ask how everyone. No, just kidding. Yeah, actually, I was about to talk to Betty this Tuesday, but she had a call with Ledger regarding wallet security and stuff like that, so we rescheduled it to next week. But
Awesome.
hopefully it will work out. Otherwise, I will be
Yeah.
sad.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah. I think it will. Betty's awesome.
yeah, she's really cool. Love her. Yeah, and I also read, if I share my screen, this one here.
Sure.
This one we don't need. I read that you might have some future plans to expand and yeah,
Oh yeah.
expand slowly over the coming years, creating community that's in for the long haul. Here with the
Yep.
Rolling Stone and Coinbase NFT drop.
Yeah, so the cool thing about Generation Habibi is that from the very beginning, we built it as a 1K that is designed to expand whenever the community is ready for it to expand. So we can drop so as you can see when you're browsing the collection, every single Habibi belongs to a generation, and you can easily identify the generation by looking at their left earring. So if you see there, every single one has a left earring. And so the one that you're moused over is the feather, and then you see the star next to it. So that means that Habibi is part of the star generation.
Nice.
You've got the ultra generation below that, and then you've also got lotus generation. There's also a Habibi generation that has a little Habibi earring, which is considered to be kind of like one of the grails of the collection. Each one of them has 100, but we can release new generations in the future with brand new artwork whenever we want.
Okay.
So it's made to be a generative collection that starts small and grows over time.
I see. Nice.
And we will release new generations, but our primary goal right now is to just keep heaping on value and keep adding value to this collection. To me, I know it seems extreme, but to me, and again, the community gets to vote on this as well via Snapshot. But to me, I'd not love to release like a big generation until we get to a floor of like 4 to 5 Ethereum.
Okay, that's cool. How do you actually create value for the holders or for the community? Because I think it's like a very difficult thing to do, like after minting. And yeah, this is kind of like the bread and butter for people to keep the motivation to believe in the project, right?
Yeah.
What do you think?
The cool thing is that we've been doing that. Our pre-mint price was 0.25 and our final mint price was 0.5. So the good news is we're above floor.
That's good.
We're remaining healthy. The way we've been we've been creating value for our holders through many different ways.
Okay.
But one of the primary ways is that owning a Habibi gives you access to, again, one of the best communities in the space.
Cool.
But we want to continue to build off of that in ways that we've never seen anybody do. Okay. So for us, we now have our alpha group, which is called Alpha Habibi, which is cool because it's led by in my opinion, one of the smartest people, smartest up and coming collectors in this space is our very own S3. And so S3 has incredible alpha. He soaks in NFTs like 10 hours every day. Wow. Very few people have their finger on the pulse as well as S3. And through the alpha group, we also get mint lists for tons of different projects. And if projects that are really in demand, like we had 100 for interfaces, rest in peace. Like the reason why I was late to our call today is because we were finishing up a giveaway for Kibatsu Mecha, which is a really exciting project that's coming out. It's 2,000 beautiful little mechas designed by Jerry Liu. And every single one of them is handmade and they are beautiful. Like if you haven't seen Kibatsu Mecha, you should check it out. It's like beautiful. I'm talking about like Invisible Friends level of art. It's beautiful. Okay. So we were just finishing up a mint list for that. And so like Alpha Habibis get incredible opportunities that you don't see. And the reason why those opportunities are really good is because there's only like 1,000 Habibis.
Yeah, that's so good.
And out of those 1,000, there's only like 300 in the alpha group. And we get we get a ton of spaces. Like we usually get as much spaces allocated to us as would get allocated to a 10K project.
You mean
So you
Twitter
have these
Spaces
10K.
and or what? Oh no, sorry. What do you mean? You mean okay, got it. Like allow list
Yeah.
spaces. Got it.
Yeah, like Deadfellas will get 100 spaces.
Mm,
And that's 10K, and we'll get 100 spaces too.
that's
You know what I
nice.
mean? And we are 1K, and we only have 300 people in the group
Wow.
where we distribute.
That's a
You
very
know what I
good
mean?
and strong point to get a Habibi, I believe. Like being part of the community and also having very high chances to land on a allow list spot for a very nice and upcoming good project, right?
Yeah. Nobody in our alpha group has and again, joining the alpha group is as simple as a click of a button. Once you have a Habibi, you just click a button and you're in.
Verify, right?
But to my knowledge, everybody that's in the alpha group would never dream of selling their Habibi
Okay.
because they've just gotten way too much value out of it. It's just like, well, if I sell my Habibi, then I won't have access. And then what's the next mint list going to be?
That's true.
And now I'm not going to get access to that. So
Yeah,
yeah.
that's nice. That's nice.
And that's just one of the things that we offer. I could talk about this all day. Like we have our community collection, which is our collection that lets anybody mint onto the Habibi community collection. It's our special contract for our community to mint onto. We have a new podcast coming out. We have our Twitter show as well that we
Cool.
run every 2 weeks where we interview our collectors and we interview artists that are in our community.
Nice.
We're really building a tight network of we're building a very tight network of creators and collectors in the NFT community.
That's
The goal
nice.
isn't to become big. The goal isn't to get it to grow as wide as possible. The goal is to get as deep as possible.
That's nice. That's nice.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, understood. And what was I about to ask? Yeah, so how long did you build the community before, let's say, minting? I know you had different marketplaces where you kind of tried out and got in your knowledge and stuff like that. How long before did you start building this community and talking to people and bringing them into the Discord and stuff like that?
Can you say that in a different way?
Yeah, I wanted to ask, when did you start with the community building until you started minting?
I actually started minting before I even made my Discord.
Okay.
Because again, this was back in, things were different in March. You know what I mean? They really were.
True.
Discord was not as big of a deal. Discord wasn't really used that much back in March. There probably was a CryptoPunks Discord. No, there were a few Discords. There were CryptoPunks, unofficial Discords probably, and there were a few others, but I mean, it's nowhere near on the scale that we're talking about now. Back in March, April, May, it was just kind of one-ones, artists, everybody was just kind of experimenting. People were like, I'm making this, I minted this today, and then I minted this today, and Foundation was a big deal back then, a really big deal. So we were all just kind of riding by the seat. We were all just kind of flying by the seat of our pants, as we say.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. So interesting. Do you want to say something before we end this very, very cool and nice talk to the listeners, or it's kind of hard, right, if I ask this question, but
no, it's a good question because I'm a documentary filmmaker.
Okay.
By trade. I did documentaries and I always ask that question. Anything you want to say to anybody? It's the last question. Anything you want to say to anybody?
Because I think because not that there's something you always wanted, you wanted to say, but then I didn't ask, and then we didn't have the time, and then we don't want to cut you off,
Yeah. Who do you think's watching this? What do you think your average viewer is like?
It really depends on the project. So I would be very happy if you shared this on Twitter and on the Discord. And I think my biggest interview or project has 500 views or so. on YouTube.
What I mean is like
Ah,
tell me about who do you think is watching? Like
who do I think
do you
is
think they're
the?
new to NFTs? Like what's your audience like? Are
I
they new to
wouldn't say.
NFTs?
No. They're not usually not so new to the NFT space. I'm not like one of these let's say YouTubers who are trying to hype things up, and so I just use this platform to publish the videos, but more so I'm on Twitter and part of some communities. And I would say they are more experienced, or at least know the landscape on how everything works. They're already in the NFT space, own some NFTs, all the good stuff.
This is what I'll say.
Okay.
With that in mind, this is what I want to say
Okay.
to experienced NFT people. And I say this with a lot of humility that I feel like I only know 1% of what's, maybe even under 1% of what's out there.
Okay.
But I really do think that right now is a time to return to the projects that have earned their spot in the NFT community. Obviously, I'm biased
Of course.
because I think I've earned my spot. But I'm not talking about Habibis. I'm talking about Deadfellas. I'm talking about Woodies. I'm talking about Savage Dogs. I'm talking about Cool Cats. I'm talking about even Apes. I'm talking about Art Blocks. You know what I mean? Doodles. I think it's a time to really put more weight in on the projects that have earned their spot.
That's true. Yeah.
And it's nothing against the new projects, and there is always going to be a place for new projects in the NFT space.
That's true.
But we need to start doing our homework, y'all. Just saying, like everybody, including myself.
Yeah.
And honestly, in the Habibi community, we do partnerships all the time, but we are changing and adapting the way that we do our partnerships because there is so much. I know we're all degens, but so don't take this word the wrong way, but there's some really sus degen activity happening out there.
Yeah.
There's rugs. People are getting rugged.
So
people getting
many
scammed,
rugs,
and
yeah.
sentiment right now, at least right now, when this podcast is being made, is plummeting.
That's true.
So we need to return to these projects that have earned their spot. And so back to what we're doing at Habibis, we now have a requirement that we meet with every single person on the staff. When we partner with people, we have to meet with them on video chat.
Wow.
And if they say we're not comfortable doing, we say we're not going to dox anybody. If you're undoxed, we won't dox you. We're not going to take screenshots.
Okay.
But if they say, no, we don't do video chat, we say, then it's no partnership.
Wow, that's a pretty cool approach. I love it. I never heard this one before. It's really cool, to be honest.
We take it really seriously, man, because we don't want to partner with anybody that rugs anybody, because it's our Habibis that are putting up the money.
That's true.
So if our Habibis are getting onto Mint List and giving this project money, and that project acts in a malicious way, or they scam, or they rug, then I know that I'm not to blame technically, but I won't be able to sleep at night.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, you should take care of your own community and the people you who believe in you. I mean, so that's a pretty cool way of doing it. And I also feel kind of that people should value those projects who are already in the or out there for, I don't know, half a year, or I don't know, 3-4 months. And sometimes you see projects being super hyped up and they launched and have, I don't know, 3 or 4 times the floor price, then they crash. And it's kind of hard to see or sad to see for those people who get, who get into those kind of projects and then, I don't know, lose a lot of money. And trust maybe in the space sad as well. Yeah, this space is full of scammers, that's right. But I love the what you say it as ending words is pretty cool. And let's not be sad, especially after this happy call. Good call, Mark.
There are sad days, but there are lots of really happy days too.
Okay.
That's
Yeah,
the
I
truth.
love it. That's true. Yeah. Thank you so much, Mark. It was lovely chatting to
Absolutely.
you. Lovely project, and I'm happy to hear more. And hopefully, maybe in the near future, when stuff develops and so on, we get the chance to talk again.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure.
Thank you so much, Mark. Cheers. Bye bye.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.